to the Club Solutions podcast, which gives you an inside look at the people and brands driving the global fitness industry. As such, I have a great guest for you today, and that is Clive Chesser, the CEO of PureGym, which has over 700 locations in Europe, the Middle East, and now the US. In this episode, we'll explore how PureGym has evolved over the past several years and the core principles guiding its global growth strategy. We'll also dive into PureGym's recent expansion into the U.S. market, including the Blink Fitness acquisition and conversions in New York and New Jersey, and what that move signals for the future of value-based fitness in highly competitive markets. From global fitness trends to U.S. market differentiation, this conversation offers rare insight into how one of the world's largest fitness brands thinks about growth, positioning, and long-term relevance. Let's get into it. Well, first off, Clive, thank you so much for making time to me. Excited to talk to you and learn about PureGym.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, to set the stage, can you just give our listeners a quick overview of PureGym as a brand and its global footprint? How has the brand evolved over the last few years?
Sure. So PureGym was founded in the UK in 2008. For those who know the UK, in Leeds, in the north of England, and then came into the market really as a disruptor, forging the low-cost gym sector, no contract, 24/7, all about accessibility, bringing fitness to the masses. And this was proved to be a very successful recipe. And ever since then, over the last 16 years, we've seen significant growth year on year in the UK. For example, in 2025, we opened a gym a week in the UK, and we plan to do the same in 2026. The business then made an acquisition into a couple of markets in Europe, in Denmark and Switzerland, and became instantly the market leader in Denmark and started to build out expansion across Switzerland as well. So those are two very successful markets for us. We've got approximately 140 clubs in Denmark and around 60 in Switzerland, and continued expansion in those markets as well. And then developed a franchise business down in the Middle East. So we have a franchise partner in Saudi Arabia and in the United Arab Emirates, and around 25 gyms currently, all branded PureGym. And again, going very well, and the business is just moving forward nicely with our franchise partners. And then we arrived in the US actually about 5 years ago with 3 sort of early trial sites really in and around the DMV region around Washington, DC, and opened 3 clubs down there of different sizes to really go and test our format and our proposition in the American market and see how it landed. And then we were very excited just over a year ago to be able to jump on the opportunity of acquiring the Blink business, which was based out of New York, New Jersey, and we actually acquired that business out of Chapter 11, which gave us a great opportunity to decide the parts of the business that we wanted to keep, and we focused on a relatively tight geography in and around New York, New Jersey. We took on 56 of the Blink clubs, and we've been having fun with them ever since. And over the last couple of months, actually, we've transitioned the Blink brand across to PureGym. This is still work in progress, but now we've got the majority of the state sort of fully functioning with the PureGym operating system, which includes our 24/7 access. It includes our controlled entry, and increasingly we're investing in the fitness proposition and in particular building out the strength training elements of the grid. And our members are responding very positively. So it's still work in progress. We launched the brand really over the Christmas period. If you walk around New York right now, I'm not sure that you'd miss PureGym. We've got various bits of digital media up and running. I got picked up from JFK Airport. This was very exciting for me in a teal-clad taxi with PureGym all over it, and saw a couple of those driving around New York as well. So I think we're very visible. We're new entrants to the market as PureGym. We know that there's some big, very well-established operators, but we're really excited about bringing the proposition that has been tried and tested for us over a number of years in Europe into New York. So that takes us in total to over 700 gyms. We keep opening them, so we're probably at about 710. In fact, there's one opening tomorrow, I know that. And our expansion plans will continue in the European markets. And increasingly now we're turning our attentions to the ability to expand our portfolio in the US, starting in and around the New York and DC areas, and sort of filling out from there.
Wonderful. And then do you mind to share about your journey with Pure Gym and just give a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. So, well, PureGym, as I said, was founded in 2008. I didn't arrive until 2024. So, a lot of work had been built by a really highly talented team. I spent the last 20 years or so running big pub companies in the UK. So, these are pub companies that own somewhere between sort of 1,500 and 4,000 pubs. So, they're sort of big chains in the UK, and really enjoyed that. But at that time, I was getting increasingly involved in fitness. I'm a marathon runner. I was out in New York actually a couple of years ago running the marathon there. And I was a member of Pure Gym, so I got to know the Pure Gym brand. As I traveled around the UK in my previous job, it provided a great solution for me to try and keep fit around all the work. And everywhere I went in the UK, I could find a Pure Gym and it was open 24 hours and with flexible memberships. And it was ideal for me. So I got to know the brand. And then when I got asked whether I'd like to put my name forward for the CEO role at Pure Gym, I absolutely jumped at it. Feels like a strange move, perhaps, from beer and pubs into gyms and fitness, but actually, there's a lot more similarities than differences. Actually, there are businesses that have a really strong sense of purpose, very community based. They're multi-site businesses with great teams of people delivering a service experience that makes customers and members come into the premises, have a good time, leave feeling better about themselves in very different ways, admittedly.
Yeah.
And then they will make an assessment whether that was great value for money or not, and whether they want to return. So essentially, we're doing many of the same things. Of course, the product is very different, but actually, there's a lot of similarities in the people as well. That as I go around our gyms, I'm forever just in awe of the caliber and the enthusiasm of our gym teams and our management teams, who are they really care because they're doing something that is passionate in their lives. A lot of them say to me, if I wasn't, managing this gym for you, I'd be here anyway as a member and using it. And so you can tell that comes through, and we get that a lot in the NPS and in the feedback that we get from our members. So very vocationally driven people, which makes it a joy, actually. And we've got a very successful proposition. It would be true to say that I've kind of enjoyed jumping on some tailwinds with the fitness industry and the macro, things that are in our favor with, health and fitness becoming increasingly prevalent in people's lives. And actually, this younger generation in particular are making healthy choices, which means they're in pubs a bit less in the UK. So
Hmm.
I think I made a smart move.
Yes, we're seeing that here in the US where, Gen Z and even younger, they don't really consume alcohol and are going to the gym on Fridays instead of maybe the
Yeah.
pub.
Though I think this latest generation and the ones that are following through are really exciting. I mean, I'm so optimistic about the choices that young people are making, and be fascinating to see them grow into middle age. And if they're still keeping up this devotion to fitness and health and well-being more generally, then the world's going to be a better place, and it's exciting. And we're here to help facilitate that.
Yeah, certainly. Well, tell me a little bit about, Pure Gym's key differentiators. What do you think really makes your brand stand out in the marketplace?
Yeah, so it's been tried and tested over the 16 years or so that we've operated in Europe, and we're very clear on our proposition and what works in the marketplace and what our members appreciate. We're called Pure Gym. We are a pure gym. That's what we do. And the things that I think really resonate with our members in every country that we operate are that we provide a really accessible solution. It's about fitness for all, but actually we have a very high quality proposition. So we can have Olympic standard weightlifters, and we have many people who are coming to the gym for their very first time. And we work very hard on making both of those people feel welcome. But in particular, actually, people who are maybe new to fitness and feeling, less comfortable or in some way intimidated by what's in front of them. And we work, very hard to make new members feel welcome. And we think a lot about the layout of the gym to make sure that we've got zones that are fit for the different types of member base that we have. And increasingly, actually, we're building some women's only spaces in our gyms in Europe, and we're testing one of those out in New York now, and that's something that's landing very well. We're all about accessibility and flexibility. So we're no contract, and we've always got no contract options available where people can join on a month-to-month basis. We firmly believe in the philosophy that it should be as easy to leave as it is to join. and that should encourage people to join. So we consider our member base actually to be either active or inactive. And there are people that leave for a while and come back, and we've got a very good track record of people rejoining us when they've left. Most of our members actually stay a long time, beyond the 12-month contract. Our average tenure is actually over 18 months and getting longer. But we do make it easy for people to leave if they're having a break from exercise, or they're moving, or they're having a baby, or whatever it may be, that they can leave, and we make it easy for them to rejoin. So it's no contract. It's got a really good range of fitness proposition, and we keep investing in that and moving with the times. And it's at what we consider to be outstanding value for money price point. So you put all of those things together. Well, we got to about 2.5 million members currently, and that is growing week on week. It appears to be working, and we can broadly reciprocate the model that we built here in the UK into the different markets when we arrive. But we also are very careful to be listening and looking for any nuances and differences in different markets. And we're obviously keen to just adapt things around the edges where need be. But broadly speaking, actually, there is a very consistent look and feel to our gyms, and we find our equipment layout works in all our markets. And if you walk into a PureGym in New York, New Jersey, or you walk into a PureGym in Zurich in Switzerland, or Copenhagen in Denmark, or London, or indeed Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, they will look and feel very familiar.
Yeah. Well, I rarely get the opportunity to talk to a brand that has an international presence because there's, only a handful. I'm really curious to know, what are you seeing in terms of global fitness trends? What are some of the commonalities that members are wanting out of a gym experience?
Yeah, so being new to the industry myself just 14 months ago, this was something I was very keen to learn. And I expected to find big deviation from fitness trends, actually, from one part of the world to the next. And it's not really the case, actually. We are seeing, the same pattern at different speeds, maybe, but we're seeing the same pattern emerging everywhere, which is a move, broadly speaking, from cardio to strength training, and our investments reflect that. The growth of functional training, the differences between different countries around the level of group exercise. But broadly, what we're seeing that in terms of trends is that it's an increasingly social and community activity, and people are going to the gyms with their friends, they're working out with their friends, they may be doing personal training or group exercise activity with their friends, and they've got a community in the gym. The competitive fitness and some of the sort of fitness racing is increasingly popular in all parts of the world, really. So the trends are macro, and increasingly young people building their fitness IQ and taking their health and well-being very seriously. We're seeing more trends coming through on recovery, and I think that's something that will continue to grow as through this year and beyond. So that's something we're thinking about a little bit more in our design and format. But these trends are surprisingly global, which is helpful for us. And, we're a relatively big business with over 700 gyms now. So we have to be careful not to jump on short-term fads, but to really ride the wave, or even, create the wave in some instances, of long-term trends. Reformer Pilates is one that we're treating very seriously. We're building out some Reformer Pilates studios and classes, and that's something that our members are responding to really well. But it has struck me that these patterns are happening all around the world. I don't know every market around the world, but I've had a pretty good exposure over the last year and talking to leading fitness operators in different parts of the world. We are seeing the same patterns, just at different pace.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder if it has something to do with just how accessible information is now. There's so many podcasts and influencers out there talking about a lot about health and wellness and fitness trends, and so I think the ability of the consumer to get the latest information on health and fitness is no longer isolated. You have that on a global scale.
Yeah, I think that's really true. That's really true. We talk about fitness IQ, and that is growing month on month. And if you went back 10 years ago, I wasn't in the industry, so people can comment on this far better than I can. But I think it was very different just 10 years ago.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen, COVID, I think, and the pandemic was on a global basis, was a bit of a circuit breaker and reset, I think, a lot of people with their lifestyle. And, that's just continued to build since then.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we talked a little bit about the Blink Fitness acquisition. Any other plans for expansion in the US that you'd like to comment on?
We're kind of building our plans for expansion in the US, but the first thing for us to do when we acquired Blink was to understand it. And there were some really strong characteristics of the Blink brand, the Blink team. I thought the clubs had great energy. And so we were very careful to try and keep those really positive attributes, and absolute credit to the Blink team who'd navigated through some difficult times actually, but really kept the positivity and the member experience really strong. Absolutely first seeking to understand, and then starting to think about, is it right to bring the PureGym operating model and the PureGym brand into this market? What adaptations might we need to make around the edges? And we, again, worked very hard on that and did some trial sites, and we've gradually become emboldened. The feedback and the response from the members has been very positive. We did some right sizing of the business. Blink had previously been a bigger business. It ended up in Chapter 11. So inevitably, some of the central costs and the central team needed just getting to right size for the scale of business that we are today, which is 60 gyms in the US. But we have aspirations now to start to grow out organically, perhaps inorganically, but certainly we're now very active in working through pipeline opportunities for new sites, initially in and around New Jersey and New York, and building out from the footprint that we have right now. And we've actually been very pleased that property opportunities seem to be plentiful. One of the things that I think helps us in the market is we're very flexible on format and size. So whilst the product offering is very consistent and the look and feel is very consistent, we can flex up actually from gyms that are 20,000 square feet plus down towards sort of 5,000 square feet in different markets. We have different format sizes, and that's something that I think gives us a bit of an edge in terms of building out property opportunities. But we'll keep testing those things and see what works. And we've got great backers. So we're backed by Leonard Green Partners, Californian PE firm, who have been wonderful supporters for us, and also KKR. So we've got a high caliber and highly supportive, I'm pleased to say, backers who are excited about our plans for further growth in the US as we continue to grow in Europe, but building up our expansion plans in the US. I've learned in my career, I've been doing this in various parts of the world. Before I ran pubs, actually, I worked for General Mills and the Haagen-Dazs ice cream brand, and I was helping to run their franchise business around the world. And before that, I was working in various travel locations, airports, etc. And so I've been doing this for a while. And one thing I've learned is I don't set openings targets, because I think when you set openings targets, you end up perhaps making suboptimal decisions and rushing things through. Let's work hard to understand the opportunities in the market, and let's open as fast as we can in a really balanced, measured way, so that we're judicious in our decision making and we're making good choices, and we're really understanding the data, we're understanding how members and the public respond to our offer. We'll go at the fastest pace we can that is the right pace.
Yeah. All right. Well, what are you most excited about as you look towards the rest of 2026? Anything else that you want to share?
The danger of repeating myself, we're so excited about the US, the biggest fitness market in the world. We've just arrived, really. We had the 3 trial sites down in around DC, but we've just arrived. We've just rebranded in the last 2 to 3 weeks in New York. We've launched a whole new sort of brand campaign in all our markets around about how our members feel when they come to the gym. And we talk about Feel Pure Gym Good. And that is about the dopamine hit that you get and the endorphins as you leave the gym, and you're glowing, and the buzz that you get. And I think part of our journey is really understanding that what we sell, which is a fitness product and accessibility to a great range of equipment at a great price, is different actually to what our members are buying. And they're buying the emotional well-being benefits from fitness that we all know about and love. So we're quite excited actually about the way now we're positioning the brand, and to be able to launch that in New York in particular at the same time as evolving the brand in Europe is so exciting. And I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. I was walking around some of our clubs in New York last week, and the team are proud, and they're wearing their PureGym uniforms. They feel proud about that. The members are giving us great feedback. They're appreciative of the serious investment that we're putting into the clubs. They're loving 24/7. So being able to bring in gyms that never sleep to the city that never sleeps is exciting. So all my excitement, don't mention it to the team back here I'm in London in our office here. Don't mention it to them. But really my excitement is massively skewed towards the opportunity we've got in the US. We've got a real buzz about that.